Hey, everybody. Welcome to Homegrown Cooking Hour, which is just remember when we used to do the Garden 30, where I just got in the garden and talked to you? That's what's happening here. Only I'm not out in the garden, I'm in the kitchen because this is what the 15-minute homestead is, right? Based on different times of day, you make decisions on what you're going to do. And if we're going to have homegrown food, then you got to cook stuff. I'm super inspired today. Oh, hey, you know what? Let's change the audio settings here. 1 second. Since there are none of you live yet, we're going to use this. Use. Okay. How's that sound? Does that sound better? Just checking. Nope, that does not sound better, but it's about to. Now it sounds better. Okay. Anyway, I just spent the afternoon with Don Gorham from Gorham Homestead, and we were talking about doing cooking videos nose to tail on animals. And I'm super excited about that project. Like, we just spent the afternoon talking about it. And I thought, I haven't done a garden 30 in a while. So instead of a garden 30, what we're going to do is a kitchen 30 because it's homegrown cooking night. It's Friday. It's 4:00. And in order for this to happen, I had to get up this morning and decide what to cook. And I've been talking about the roamer top on the podcast a lot. So this is a roamer top right here. And this is what I mean by it's coated on the inside. It has a glazing on the inside. I'll show you the other piece. The other piece is, this is terracotta. This is the top of the roamer top. And that is soaking in water. I want it to soak for 15 minutes. So when I cook with the roamer top, in order for all of this to go together, I put it in my sink and I let it soak for 15 minutes. While that's happening, I'll let the bottom soak too, just for fun. While that's happening, I also start cooking up the stuff that's going to go in there because we're going to do a bed of vegetables. We're going to do some liquid. And for the liquid today, what I did, I've got my computer. I'm boiling bone broth that I've canned before on the stove for 5 minutes. Why? Because we boil things for 5 minutes on the way out of the jar when we've canned them, because high pressure, low acid foods, if for some reason something went wrong and botulism had made something there, when you've boiled it for 60 seconds all the way through, you break up the toxin. And so when I use my pressure canned stuff or my low acid stuff, which is all pressure canned in my kitchen, I boil it on the way out of the jar as a hedge. And it's not like boiling bone broth ruins it, right? Especially it's been pressure canned, right? So that's what we do. So then I cut up the vegetables that are going to go in there. By the way, if you want to see something or have questions, you just put it in the comments. I'll talk about anything. I don't need to talk about cooking today. I can talk about world events that I don't know anything about. Most important thing for me to start with, and this is the month of the pantry challenge, and I'm probably going to run out of onions before the end of the month. But I have onions right now. And my thought is, I learned this from Dixie over at Homemade Wanderlust is the name of her channel. It's a homegrown cooking, homemade wanderlust, like 2 things. Oh, that's my alarm. Squirrel. Oh, and you're going to go off again. So then we turn that off. It's all boiled. I boiled 2 quarts of bone broth because it's going to be 5 degrees. It's going to be 0 degrees probably next week. I mean, that might change, but it's going to be cold. We're probably going to get snow. And when you've been out working with sheep and it's freezing out and you come in and you want to warm up, there is nothing like a nice hot cup of bone broth to really help you out. So for the roamer top, I cut the onions like this and I just sharpened my knife. Sadly, empty knives is not here to sharpen my knife. It would be even, oh, this is interesting. My onion has that in the middle, which, let's see what it is. It's a piece of straw. That's super interesting. It probably grew around that, maybe in the ground. Like it's not a stem growing up. Like I see where the stem is. Like it's literally this other little. Nope, it is a stem. Okay, so it was going to have twins because it's a little stem, but then it dried on the inside. Anyway, I cut it into rings and put it on the bottom of the roamer top. And the cool thing is this like bottom coated thing. The coating keeps the liquid from soaking through and doing weird things in your oven. I mean, not that it necessarily would. And then it also it serves as sort of a nonstick thing without being Teflon. We don't like Teflon. We like this. And then I have in my kitchen from the garden a few potatoes I grew last year. I know I'm keto, but sometimes I eat potatoes. I don't eat a lot of potatoes, but we'll just put a few chunks. What goes well in this, because it's going to cook for the next 3 hours or so, which means we're not eating dinner till 7 because I started 1 hour later than I usually do. Root vegetables go well. If I would have been on it today, I would have gone out and harvested some Jerusalem artichokes. But what I got done today, this is cool. I got the leaf mulch on the garlic, and here's how it happened. Dawn ran into traffic on her way here, and she was running 20 minutes late. And I remember Joel Salatin was talking about how he keeps a list of 20-minute projects just on a chalkboard at his farm. And yeah, Melissa says I'm gonna have to look into one of those. Exactly. They're pretty cool. I like them. But he keeps that list on a chalkboard. And if you get done with your project early and you decide that you want to, like it's lunchtime in 20 minutes. So it's like starting a 3-hour project doesn't make any sense, but there's 20 minutes. You can go do a 20-minute project and erase it from the dry erase board. And I asked myself when I found out she was running 20 minutes late, what can I do? And I've been like really a bum about the whole garlic thing. So these are morels that I got from Andy. I bought them. He found them. They're dried. I'm just going to put some in there because morels are delicious and they'll soak up the juices really nicely. Anyway, so I decided that what was keeping me from getting the leaf mulch on my garlic was that the bags of leaf mulch are heavy and I got to get them up the hill. Hello, Red Fire Media. We got to talk lights and cameras because I'm on my computer right now, but it would be so cool to be able to just like go live. I really want to be able to do that. So yeah, we did that. And it was just, I was like, drag one bag up, see how bad it is. And it's pouring down rain, but I'm from Oregon, so I don't put a raincoat on. I just walk outside in my t-shirt. It wasn't that cold. Like it was probably 50 degrees and raining. And I was like, I can change shirts when I'm done. So I dragged one bag up, dumped it out, brought the empty bag down and put it by the trash can because we'll use it as a trash can liner later. Yep. I know I need to put the tracks in. But I'm not letting toolbox fallacy get in my way. By the way, I just shot a video in here with Don Gorham with lights up. We're blinking. Why are we blinking? That's weird. Pulse. Okay. Does anybody else see like the lights blinking? It might be because trees are blowing over. But anyway, I brought out my studio lights from the studio where I record the podcast, and it took me more time to set up the lights than for us to record the video. But we recorded a video introducing our new project for the Homegrown cooking channel about nose to tail cooking of meat. And we had a brainstorm this afternoon just about what we wanted to record first. We're going to start with steaks. And, she's like, but everybody knows how to cook steaks. And I'm like, they do, but they don't. Right? Some people really don't. And that's okay. We'll just do different kinds of steaks. And then we like looked up online, what are the different types of steaks? And we'd already had our list and we like found 5 varieties we've never heard of. So that was fun. So now we're going to try to get our hands on some of those and cook those and have fun with that. Mark, welcome to the live stream. So what I'm doing right now, Melissa, is I am taking juniper berries that you separated for me from the decoration that Carrie from Strong Roots Resources gave me and Angel. And they still have a few little bits of leaves in there. So I'm separating them out because we're going to add juniper berry to this. So what I do with these is I'm going to put these. So these are from the cedar trees here in Tennessee, which are Eastern blue juniper, I believe is what they're called. And so it's juniper berries. So you can actually cook with these as a spice. I also have commercial ones here. So I'll show you guys the difference. So my idea about homegrown cooking is we grow the food. Do we know how to cook the food? So this is how big that is. Smells like gin, basically. And this is like, you see the size difference? So yeah, it's like softball and baseball. The Eastern blue junipers are softball. These are more aromatic coming out of here, but I think that's because they've been closed in this bag, and the juniper berries I have are. So I've been just sort of. Wouldn't it be great if I finished a sentence? No, you're going to get scatter, Nicole, this afternoon. So I get them out, and I grab my mortar and pestle, which is something I didn't know I was going to keep in my kitchen because my whole kitchen's outside except for the stuff I've actually used in the last couple weeks. And the mortar and pestle is one of the first things that came back in, as a matter of fact. So then I squish them up. They're dried, but that breaks them up so you get the flavor out. So I'm just putting aside. Okay. So we're going to do some juniper, and then we want garlic. Well, y'all know I planted my garlic. So this over here is a box of potatoes I grew. Under the box of potatoes is garlic. I don't usually store garlic and potatoes in my kitchen like that, but they are in here because I was working on getting my garlic planted. In order to do that, you have to break the garlic apart. And so I had it in here, so I do it, and I did it, and now it's in the ground, and super stoked. And I hauled that first bag of leaves up, and it took 2 bags to do the row, and then I hauled a third bag up. I was starting to haul it, and Tactical came out, and he put it in a wheelbarrow and brought it up for me, which was super nice, because right then I could use a little boost. That's why it's nice to have more than one person on the homestead when you can, because sometimes you need a little boost. And I got the row where I have kale that just sort of volunteered. Got that all mulched in before the freeze, so I'm stoked. Next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of salt to the root veg, and I have this wonderful smoked salt that Chris Spees gave me. I'm doing about a teaspoon. I'm not grinding it. It comes with a built-in grinder. The grinder doesn't work very well because those plastic grinders don't work great on salt. So, and I could put it in my metals grinder, but I have pepper in there right now. So I just it's kind of rock salt, but it will be in liquid, so it will be fine. So today, what are we putting? So what I put on top of the vegetables is going to be a hunk of meat. And today I thought we were going to make a video with Dawn, but the weather was pretty bad, so I didn't want. I was hoping she could drive home in the light. What I have is this. This is a loin from a deer. And if you look at this loin, there's a problem. And this is your first homegrown cooking lesson about it. This is silver skin. If you ever get a piece of meat that looks like this, you do not want to try to cook that. So what I need to do first is cut off the silver skin, which is a pain in the neck. And the reason this ended up this way is somebody else butchered this deer for me while I was out of town because my neighbor gave it to me and I was out of town. So they cut it into pieces. I'm actually really impressed they got that loin out so nicely because they didn't know anything about, they were just like following muscle groups, throwing it. It's the deer shin deer, guys. So is Mama Sauce. And she didn't know about silver skin. I wasn't going to try to explain that from Jack Spirko's workshop. This has been in my freezer for 2 years because I didn't want to deal with the silver skin. This is like that 15-minute leaf project or 20-minute leaf project that I didn't want to deal with, but I dealt with it, and now it's gone. It's not in my way. Loin is delicious, and Romer top loin is going to be even more delicious. So I could take the silver skin off and make little medallion steaks out of this if I wanted to, but today what we're going to do, I already know that I'm going to have to cut this in half to fit in the Romer top. So we'll do that. And then this one just has a little bit. So we'll start with the easy one. Usually I do the hardest first. And I just sort of use the knife that way. I will poke it through like that. And then, slice it down to get the silver skin off. And moving like I'm sawing with the knife works really well for this. And a sharp knife works really well for this. I think a lot of butchers use fillet knives like you'd fillet um, a fish with. So yeah, that's it. And when it's done, you know, this is one of those things like, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It's done. That's it. I have a little stripe here because there's a muscle overlap there. That'll be a little, like, it'll fall off that, whatever. I'll cut that off right now. If you leave that there, it might be chewy for a second, but who cares? Who cares? So you get into other cuts of meat. So this one's done. I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to wash my hands because I forgot to have a plate out to put this aside on. And now it's on my cutting board in my way. Oh, well. So, silver skin, Lyoth Dindin. Yeah, so the dogs are getting some TREATS tonight. There's one who just walked in, so we're not going to say the word. Doesn't happen until later. And, Rebecca, I wish you lived closer. You could just come over for dinner all the time. It'd be fun. But no, you got to be near the grandkids and the kids. So put that aside. We're going to herb it up. This one's going to be a little harder. But I just, I tested the sharpness of the knife. And I'm, taking the silver skin off. It's fine. I feel like Renegade Butcher should be here, or Backwoods should be on the channel right now telling me I'm doing this wrong. The deal is I kind of angle the knife up a little bit when I'm doing this to get less meat attached to the silver skin. But that's just a technique I learned from Chef Brett. And if you cut a little too much meat off, who cares? If you're going to make bone broth and you don't want to make this into dog TREATS, you can throw this in your bone broth bag. It's great. It'll just add flavor to it. There's all these things you can do. So I think the reason I've been really excited about starting a homegrown cooking series, and so when Dawn reached out and was like, let's do this thing, I was like, well, I already kind of was doing this other thing and maybe they fit together, is that people grow the food and then don't know what to do with it. But the other thing is we're not necessarily taught how one thing flows to another in the kitchen. So there you go. Looks good, huh? Put that on the plate too. Then we wash our hands again, and we wash the cutting board, and we wash the knife. And this is like the ADD cooking hour, basically, because I should have cut all my vegetables first and then the loin. But then I was like, I want to get that silver skin off because I don't like doing it. And then once that's done, then the rest of it's easy. And now I'm going to cut a few more vegetables. I probably will, because we did so well with green beans last year, I probably will add green beans to this just because, but I won't add those till the end, because what's going to happen in the Romer top is this is going to cook for 3 hours. And that's a long time, low and slow. I mean, the green beans would turn to liquid by then. So it's just the root vegetables. So the one other thing I can add that I have is some carrot, and I'm getting low on, oh, we could add sauerkraut too. That'd be good. Let's pull that out while we're in here. Okay. I have some cabbage. That would be okay. It would still be sort of structurally okay after that long. But again, cabbage for the last hour. Oh, the other thing I could put in is I got radishes out of my garden yesterday. And radishes actually are a low carb way to add some potato-like action. So let's see. I'm going to pull out all the little ones. This is literally ADD cooking hour, just, because it's based on what is in my kitchen. And I don't always know exactly what's in my kitchen. I know I should. I know I'm super organized, right? Except for right now, I'm not that organized since the house was ripped up. And the other thing is I knew the radishes were there, but it's not like I document when I put radishes in my fridge, because I harvested them yesterday, which was like my little fall gift to myself. And I didn't think about the fact that radishes are actually pretty delicious in stew. And this doesn't exactly turn into a stew. What'll happen is it'll cook low and slow. And then once it's done, so yeah, I'm just going to put some radishes in. Bloop. That was fun. Okay, and then I've got this many carrots for the rest of the month. And no, I didn't grow these carrots, but budget saving trick if you like baby carrots is you can buy bags of carrots. You can buy bags of really nice organic carrots. And then you can use your peeler and pull the skin off. And then you can cut them into little chunks. And it's like baby carrots, only not. So I'll put a few carrots in there just for flavor, and I'll save the rest for that last week of the month. I don't usually save things like for the last week of the month for sure, but this I'm gonna want one like bone thrown to me. So I'm gonna keep that going. At this point, because I am adding sauerkraut to this, I'm gonna add the sauerkraut, even though it will pretty much melt away into nothing. This is homemade sauerkraut. I have a cabbage in there that I need to decide if I start more sauerkraut so I have it next month or not, because I'm not allowed to go buy a cabbage to do that with. And I really like having sauerkraut. And then, of course, getting ready for the Living Free in Tennessee Spring Workshop. I'm going to have to make a bunch of sauerkraut because we always let people try some of the homemade ferments while we're there. So I put some sauerkraut in. That may seem weird, but it's good. It adds a little bit of a sour flavor, but not too strong. And it's kind of nice in a Romertopf. It's going to end up with the meat fall apart tender, and then the vegetables will have soaked up the broth from that. And then the spices are nicely integrated. And the mouthfeel in the Romertopf's a little better than the mouthfeel in the crock pot. Now, I have this giant thing of bone broth for a little bit of liquid. I'm putting about a cup in. As you can tell, I very carefully measured that by tilting my container, and the rest will go in the fridge. It's been boiled now on its way out of the jar for next time. Spring Workshop is the 25th through 27th of April. Mark, tickets go on sale on the 20th if you're interested in going to that. And if you want to go, you specifically, I will give you your deposit for free because I feel bad that you got so screwed over at SRF by the RV incident. So if you're interested in that deal, reach out to me. I meant to email you about that like 2 months ago. But I know you had a really hard time with, I think you totaled your trailer as a result of being at that campground, which kind of sucks. So that's like, or if you didn't, I'm like, I admire you for being able to get that cleaned up. That's all I can say. I heard what happened. He tried to go to SRF and never made it. Okay, now we think about some spices. First, I'm going to do some ground pepper. And I'm going to sprinkle it in here. And that's pretty much the last spice that's going in with the vegetables. The next thing I'm going to do is spread these out. Once again, got to wash my hands because I don't think ahead. And I think we'll do, let's see, I've got some lemon garlic dill powder from Honeybee's Kitchen. So we'll do a little bit of that on there. And I just sort of sprinkle it over. I don't even worry about getting both sides of the meat because it's just all going to conglomerate. This is some paprika that Spags gave me from the Midwest Preparedness Project. So I pour this into the lid. It's a little spicy, so a little bit of that on there, but not too much. And then I think I'm going to keep it simple. Oh, the juniper berries. Those go on last. Okay, so then we're going to take salt. And this time I'm going to use some red salt because it's ground. And I'm not going to grind this one right now. And I'm going to sprinkle it over the meat like you would if you were going to do a roast. So it's about 2 teaspoons by the time I'm done. I know that sounds like a lot of salt. I'm a salt fanatic. Then I place these in the roamer top on top of that bed of everything, and any extra spices on the plate, I just brush in there. And I rinse the plate. And I wash my hands again because I touched the meat again. I wash my hands roughly 50,000 times when I'm cooking. So what do you guys, how did your week go? Tell me that. Did you have a good week? Did you get some stuff done? Like I had a pretty good call with Letty this morning, who's been working on social posts for Living Free in Tennessee, SRF, and Hollow Roast Coffee. So she's doing all three. And she kind of killed it this week, I think. Yeah. He made it as far as the campground, and then the campground like bitch slapped him is what happened. I think that's what happened. Okay. This is what it looks like. 2 loins on the bed of yummy stuff. A lot of times the recipes I see for the roamer top ask for a cup of wine. I don't have any wine open, and my wine is in Base Camp's basement. That's why I added a little bit of sour from the sauerkraut. There's a little bit of acid. You can also add a little vinegar instead too. I got some stuff done. I actually got on the computer to get LFTM post down, but got distracted by Nicole's like, Letty, this is an unscheduled garden 30, except for it's not a garden 30. It's a kitchen 30. It's homegrown cooking. Okay. So now the juniper berries are in the mortar and pestle, and I'm going to just sprinkle those on the meat. And juniper is a pretty strong flavor, so it pairs well with red meat. And it smells like a gin and tonic. I like gin. I'm in dry January. No gin for Nicole. But if I was like listening to what's happening now, I'd be like, maybe tonight with dinner, I'll have a gin and tonic. Not tonight with dinner. Okay. So that's it. Next thing you do is you take the top out of the water. One of the things you need to be careful with if you buy a roamer top is, will it fit in your sink? And if not, how are you going to soak it? I used to soak this puppy in the bathtub. So I'd have to bleach the bathtub and then soak it in there. But I have a really big kitchen sink now. But I'm going to show you something. They make bus trays that you can buy at Sam's Club. I soak it in my sink. It works great. It's the perfect size. And if I had my old sink, I would have been able to take the spray nozzle off to the side and fill that up. So that's kind of a cool little add-on. Onion bits. These are great to save with your bones for bone broth. So I just throw those in the freezer in a Ziploc. I already have a Ziploc with bones in it in the freezer. Oh, you know what I got in here that's interesting? I freeze-dried this cauliflower and then never packaged it. I just left it in the freezer freeze-dried. I might throw that in at the very end too. I would not put freeze-dried cauliflower in, but if you put chunks of cauliflower in at the beginning and put it in the roamer top, they actually do pretty well. This stuff, it serves as a thickener. So if I want the gravy to be thickened, that's a great way to do it. Now my oven is off, and I'm going to put it in my oven. And then I'm going to hit bake, 350, start. And I let the roamer top come up to temperature in the oven. If your oven heats up super fast, though, don't do that. You put it at like 200 degrees and let it go. Let it sit there for 10 minutes, then 250, and then 3, and then 350. So that is it. So now, 3 hours from now at 7:30, we're going to eat dinner. Usually I start this. I usually take a half-hour break about 3 o'clock to get this done. But this week, like those of you who talk to me on the phone know that I was on the phone the whole week getting Self-Reliance Festival speakers and arrangements made. And I was also on the phone getting Living Free in Tennessee Spring Workshop speakers and arrangements made. So I was on the phone 4 to 8 times a day, which is not normal for me. I have a pile of paperwork to just make sure my notes are all captured in all the places so I don't screw up and forget what somebody's topic is or something that they're talking about. And any follow-up I need to do, I need to have that ready to go and get some follow-up done. So I actually get an hour or two of computer work after this, but that's fine. It's part of the job that I made for myself. And I love it. I'm actually super excited about both events. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fun. I just talked to a guy who wants to do an Alaskan like chainsaw demo thing for an Alaskan chainsaw mill. I don't know what that is, but we'll find out. So anyway, what did Melissa say? I'm on my 5th batch of freeze-dried food. Signed up to be a vendor at KSL and working on a list now for homemade things to sell. Sweet. I'm so close to SOE, so if you need any help, let me know. Yep, that's right. Okay, guys, that was it. You know the way this works best, though. The more questions you ask or topics you bring up, the more we can talk about. I think we've just gone 30 minutes, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. And I'm looking at my pile of notes thinking, while this cooks, I'll go. So I'll check it in about an hour. I'll check it in 2 hours to see what the temperature is. This is going to be more like your pot roast style thing with a thick gravy. Do you do any sides with this dish, Letty? That's a great question. I don't. I might do a salad if I had one. I actually do have a salad making from the garden. I have one more salad from yesterday's harvest. But I often will serve this standalone with the root vegetables. I try to choose like lower carb root vegetables. That's why I was kind of excited about the radishes. Or sometimes it's just meat and onions with a nice gravy. And the reason I do that is we are ketovore eaters, so we keep our carbs fairly low. But there's no reason not to serve it with side dishes. A traditional way to serve it would be with some bread to soak up the gravy with. I just don't eat bread. So that's something you could do. It wouldn't have been bad over mashed potatoes. That's something you can do. But then you have root vegetables over mashed potatoes. So that's kind of weird. But it's, you can pretty much put anything. I could do the green beans as a side dish and just put that in there, or collard greens, or any of those things. It would all be delicious. A good salad though with it's a nice complement to that. Yeah. Letty says we don't do a lot of side dishes. Yeah. A lot of people want carbs as side dishes is what I noticed. So it just sort of depends. Like a lot of times it's steak and salad here, or steak and green beans, or just steak when I'm super tired. Stuff like that. Meatloaf and meatloaf. But everybody wants their mashed potatoes with the meatloaf. So it just depends where you're going to go with that. Yep, this is how you catch and keep a redneck. You just keep cooking. I also really like good food. So thanks for jumping on, guys. And I'll probably do more of these as I can. I'm working on getting the kitchen studio easier to just spin up. And I was playing with lighting today, and it was hilarious. And Rebecca would have been laughing at me. There was a point. So Dawn Gorham's here, and she's looking at it while I'm messing with lights. And she's like, I look like a ghost. And what it was is that when this overhead light's on and my studio lights are here, this causes a glare there. You can see it. And for this, I didn't care about lighting. And then I had a light over there that was causing a glare there, and I had to change its angle. And then I realized with these lights off and the blackout curtain closed, because that's a blackout curtain there so that we can do lighting here. Otherwise, you end up like with a halo and no face. I had to get my construction light out because my other two lights were not bright enough to work with the one. I got one new studio light. It's really awesome. I guess I need more than one of those. And so I was like trying to put light bulbs in that were brighter and all this other stuff. And then finally I'm like, I'll get the construction light out and just point it straight at the ceiling. And it turned her into a sheet white ghost is what it did. So then I ended up pointing it the other side of the room, and then it worked. And I was like, yeah, I probably just need another one of those $200 lights over there, and it would make the whole thing easier. Will you and Dawn be showing how to process and properly butcher homestead grown meats and venison? We are going to go nose to tail. So we're going to start with some of the easier skills, because I think it's more accessible to start with. Like, this is how you can cook a fantastic steak. This is how you can cook a fantastic steak. This is a third way you can cook steak, like all of these things. But yeah, I'm sure that we will eventually get into some butchering stuff. Also curing. I think we will end up hitting some curing, because I do a lot of curing and it goes in cycles. But when you have the whole beef, like, what can you make with that from a cured meat standpoint? How do you make breakfast sausage, which isn't really cured? Like just all sorts of different things you can make. Bacon, hams, like that's not beef, that's pork, but yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah. Oh gosh, yes, I need to come play with the lights. Yeah. wonder how much I'm paying Melissa to come up here and set up my studio. I guess she'll email me about that. Yeah, love a big tomahawk steak, but pricey. I ended up with tomahawk steaks in my last cow. I don't have any in the freezer. So some of the steaks we found that like exist in the world, we don't have. And so we may end up having to buy some from the store just for fun. But yeah, this half hour that I put in, I'm taking more time because I'm talking to y'all. But this half hour that I put in, when it comes time to serve dinner now, I'm going to check it once. It'll take 2 minutes to check temperature in 2 hours, and then I'll have a better idea if it's going to be 2.5 or 3.5 hours till we eat. If it's going to be 3.5 hours, I'm going to take one of these. This is always a backup plan for me. I keep these in the freezer. Take one of these salamis. This is not one I've made. Shame. Anyway, I'm going to take one of these salamis and I'm going to slice up like a quarter to half of it. I'm going to put some cheeses out. I'm going to put pickled beets, pickled things that we've made from the homestead out on an appetizer platter at about 6 o'clock. And I'm going to ask Tactical if he wants some bone broth if he walks through at 6 o'clock. And if he wants bone broth, I'll heat some bone broth. And that just sort of tides us over for a late dinner. I don't usually like having late dinners because then I don't clean my kitchen afterwards, and I'll clean it in the morning when I get up. But today, that's the way the schedule happened. And that actually gives me a good window because I did some outside. Do I have something on me? Oh, I have onion on me. That gives me a good window to work on some more paperwork because I'm hitting a lot of the paperwork details of the two events really hard right now. So because last time I got to about a month before Self-Reliance Festival and I realized that there were things in different places and not all in one place. So my goal this time is to have all the things in one place sooner rather than later, because then the marketing guy can help because he can see what's going on. Then the marketing lady can help because she can see what's going on. Then the people who are helping like make sure the tents get booked and all of that can help because they'll see what the status of things are. And last time I was just doing it and then not documenting very well. So I have spent a lot of time on the phone and doing documentation. So yeah. But this 30 minutes that I spent doing this means I spent half an hour cooking dinner, 2 minutes to check it. When it comes time to serve it, if I add the green beans, I'll throw them from the jar into a pot on my stove and boil them for 5 minutes while I'm doing something else, probably working on getting my wood fire going because it went out this afternoon. And then I will pour that into it when it comes out of the oven and it's ready to serve. You don't like all of the time cooking was just what we did here. And most of that time, it was a little slower this time because I was talking as I did it, but most of that time was just like cutting stuff up and throwing some spices in. That's it. And if I wanted to go out to dinner tonight because I was running behind and I didn't want Mexican food at the marina, and I'm not allowed to go out to eat because it's the pantry challenge a weekend, month, and we're not allowed to go out to eat unless we're like literally on the road for work. I would have to drive 25 to 30 minutes to Smithville, 35 minutes to Cookville, come into the restaurant, sit down, decide what to order, wait for the food to come, eat the food, and drive home. And I would get home, 3 hours later, probably. So from my perspective on the homestead, this half hour is it's like less time than going to a restaurant. This is going to be done, and then the dishes will take me 15 minutes. And if I'm tired, the dishes will take me 15 minutes in the morning. I'll make sure the food's put away in the fridge and that's it. So it actually takes me less time not to eat out. But sometimes I just want to eat out because I like the experience. And so then I go eat out. That is what it is. When I do get marina Mexican food, I can call the order in. We can pick it up, which takes about 15 minutes to get there and back. And then we eat. And that actually does take less time than the 30 minutes. But, it's a 15-minute difference. And I don't want marina Mexican food tonight. By the way, marina Mexican food at my house is good Mexican food. It's not great Mexican food. So it's very good. It's not like high-end Mexican restaurant in downtown Dallas sort of good, but it's good. It's probably the best Mexican I would say in the county that I've had. So it's not a torture for me to have marina Mexican food. It's just that, like, how many nights can you have Marina Mexican food? Anyway, that's my random ramble for the night, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I don't know when I'll pop these up, but I will totally pop these up from time to time. Did a redneck walk by my window, Dave? Did he? I heard a redneck four-wheeler drive up, so it's possible he just walked by my window. And it is, if he walked by the window and you probably heard him go, oh, he's probably talking to the ducks because the ducks are going to bed right now. And he just got back from the sheep. And then, yeah. Oh, I see Cece. Cece's wagging her tail like she knows somebody. But nope. She's just eating something she shouldn't be eating. Okay. That's typical of the dog. That's the dog. I'm not going to tell that story. It's gross. Anyway, have a great night, everybody. And there was a window sighting of the redneck. So there we go. 3 times. I don't know what that means, Mona. Oh, did he walk by my window 3 times? I don't even see it. I'm like, meh. I'm just looking at the little dot up here where my finger is. So, and then I look over here at the comments. That's just the way it goes. All right, guys. Get shit done this weekend. Woo!